Hi, this is Derek Dean with Studio MMA. I have Tyron Woodley with me. Your wrestling is very, very effective. You don't fall prey to jiu-jitsu loopholes. Do you know what I mean? How do you do that? You don't see a lot of wrestlers have that ability. You see some who are really good, and then they run into someone equally as good on the ground, and it's over. You have found that magic. I'm not going to fall into this. How is your wrestling adapted to look for that?
I think it's come from basically falling in that loophole so many times. You kind of get used to it. You know, fighting with American Top Team, just a rich tradition of jiu-jitsu. They put me in there to take these guys down, and those guys are trying to submit me. So I have a great sense of awareness. I can feel when things are happening. So even if I don't defend it well or sweep you or, you know, submit you in exchange, I'm really good at getting out of situations. So I think just the wrestling mentality that I have, us wrestling always hand on hand. If we got sort of level change, you can think he's taking a shot. So when guys move and they start adjusting, I can kind of feel something going on. So I do more neutralizing than actually counter submitting, because it's kind of hard to counter submit someone. So that's probably the answer to the question. Okay.
And when I don't know if I can ask you this because of contracts and whatnot. You did an episode of Bully Beatdown. Do they ask you, don't kill him, we will get sued for a lot of money? Or are they pretty hands off, like, look, go spar with the guy, don't destroy?
Actually, they said beat him up.
Really?
Yeah, I was really super surprised, because you see these reality shows and you don't know how much of this is real, but these guys do not see you, not one time. You don't stage it. It's not. They see you when you walk into the cage, and I imagine like the episode when Andre Arlovsky walked in there, and if you'd have got us on the other end of the cage, and Arlovsky walks in there, so it's funny that when you walk in the cage, if the guy know who you are, you can see kind of how their eyes blow up. But they told us just have fun. They said if you try to take this guy really quick, then basically that's going to limit your time on TV. So the longer you in there, the more you're on TV. So I just kind of have fun with it, try not to hurt the kid, but also make it look like a bully getting taught a lesson. So
a lot of people make reference to you didn't make the Ultimate Fighter show. Why do you find it discouraging that most people now don't see that they have to work to be a fighter? They just, I'm going to make it on reality TV, kind of like winning the lotto, have the personality for it. Yep. Do you see it and just go, there's actually the hard work ethic that gets you here as well, that people are kind of forgetting these days, yes?
I was definitely leaning more towards, my talent, my skills, more towards, I felt like I had a face that can be marketed and sold fairly easily, and also a message after I fight that was a little bit different. I was actually playing on the opposite side. Instead of being a guy that, do something crazy, bust a hole in the wall, pee in your gloves, I was a guy that's going to beat these guys up and then have a message for, like Misha Tate was saying, message for these kids afterwards that you can be good, keep your integrity, you can kick somebody's butt, and at the end of the day, you still can be, hold on to what you believe. So for me not making it, it's I thought it was a blessing in disguise, because I would have gotten that house, either I would have broke or I would have went back to some of the things I used to do, because you're around all those guys, so emptying out those skeletons, sitting around bored, I think in the long term that I never thought that I wouldn't be at the top of the game. I never thought I wasn't going to make it, so that wasn't my only hope and opportunity, so I knew it down the road I would be a champion, and I still believe that.
As a great fighter that you are, with the Strikeforce being bought by UFC, before you only had, let's say, 10 really tough guys to look at. Now you have an entire pool. As a fighter, that has to be more exciting for you, the opportunities that are now presented. Do you start watching more videos of people and looking at more, I can fight this guy now, instead of being held back from it? Is it exciting?
It's definitely exciting, but what you got to realize is we have the most depth in any weight class. 55 and 45 has the most frenetic pace, but you start looking at, you can't just look at guys like George St. Pierre. You got Carlos Condit, you got Dan Hardy, you got Koscheck, you got Fitch, you got Jake Ellenberger, you got, tons of guys that are talented, and tons of guys that bring different things to the table. So for me, I was already watching these guys as a fan, watching these guys, because I know one day I was going to meet one of these guys, but since the buyout, it really just cuts the time that I will meet these guys. So a situation where if my contract with Strikeforce expires, and it's seen by my management staff or Strikeforce or Zuffa, they might make this as, hey, we want you to fight in the UFC now. So when it gets to that point, I want to have to basically go through the almost year and a half of waiting until your contract, negotiating, right to match. I can just jump right over and start fighting. So I'm really just focusing on getting on this Strikeforce belt first, because that's something I set out for, and I want to get that.
Okay. Thank you very, very much for your time.